Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour, brought to you by Trio Jazz Club, Sioux Falls' premier jazz club. Enter as friends, leave as family. Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, Excel Chiropractic, Quality Nails, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Thank you, Zach Dresch. Welcome back, loyal listeners, and big welcome to those of you listening for the first time. This is going to be an extended version today, as we have three guests. Guitarist Kiran Cordes from Etta and the Vendetta. She's joining us for the first time. Then from Old Town Dinner Theater, we welcome back Ruthie Pottratz. From Arts South Dakota, Jim Spiers gets us caught up on what federal arts funding could mean for many nonprofit arts organizations. Those conversations coming up. But first, let's pop the cork on this bubbly little show.
Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day and your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party.
Doesn't matter what you toast with, as we all have different tastes and different times of the day we listen. I'm having my usual Jasper Newton. It's a Jack Daniels Diet Coke with a lime. You might be drinking water, milk, coffee, tea, beer, wine, or champagne. So whatever drink that is, it could be a different goblet of some sort. Whatever your beverage of choice, lift it high and toast to graduations. Despite whether or not you continue your academic career, know this: learning is lifelong. The old adage, you learn something new every day, it's not just a cute quote, it's a truism. So cheers to you, graduates of all degrees. Keep learning. The Weekend Eve Toast brought to you by Chasers, West 12th and Ellis Road. Stop in for great food, great beverages, and fun times. And join us Monday nights at 7 for Dave Holly Hour Trivia. Except for this coming, because the bar is going to be closed in honor of Memorial Day. So our next trivia night will be Monday, June 2nd. Theme to be determined. Honorable mention. So what made Dave laugh, chuckle, chortle, downright slap my knee silly, or even shed happy tears of joy recently? Thank you, Improv Falls, for an amazing final show of your season. And thank you as well for all the shows you've had these past 9 months. They're not having their final show. No, they'll be back come fall time, but they take a very well-deserved summer break. Then they'll be back in the fall, making things up, making audiences break out in big-time laughter. Later in the show, from Arts South Dakota, Jim Spiers. Midway through our next 90-plus minutes, Ruthie Pottratz from Old Town Dinner Theater. In just a few minutes, we get to know guitarist Kiran Cordes from Etta and the Vendetta. Coming up on the Dave Holly Hour. Trio Jazz Club is an intimate music venue in the heart of Sioux Falls. It's family-owned and family-run. Ricardo and Mary Beth and the entire staff provide the art of hospitality, while the best local and regional musicians provide the smooth sounds. It's a great vibe with live music Tuesday through Saturday nights. The chefs and mixologists offer an amazing menu and beer and wine lists. Cocktails as smooth as the jazz. Join the club, Trio Jazz Club, across from the Washington Pavilion. Enter as friends, leave as family.
Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Towne don't simply provide the service, they provide professional care for your hands and feet. Whether you just want the basics or you're looking for an extra special look with an added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails on Minnesota. Call for an appointment, 605-334-1463.
For him, every day is a holly day. Here again, Dave Holly.
Welcome back, everyone. Always a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment. Yes, I will never get tired of saying that each conversation because it's so meaningful. And that's why you're listening too, is because you want to either learn more about Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment, or you're already well involved, just want to learn more about the artists and the creators that we have in this community. And we get to learn more about a new one today. Saw her. She is part of Etta and the Vendetta. We've had Etta on a few times, as you all know. But Miss Kiran Cordes, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to talking today.
As am I. Now, you admittedly said when you came in the door, a little bit nervous, haven't been on a podcast before.
A little bit.
But also, anxious, kind of like, hey, looking forward to it. But just remember, it's a conversation.
All right.
We're just going to talk as if, nobody else were around.
Sounds good.
Because there are 8 million. No. I was going to say, boy, that would be a nice audience to have. So at what age did you pick up the guitar?
I started playing back when I was about 11 years old. I wanted to join the middle school band and played the drums. However, they required a year of another instrument that students should learn. And so my dad, he played guitar, and I decided since he played, I'd have him teach me guitar for a year, and then I would transition to the drums. But I enjoyed guitar so much, I ended up sticking with it from there. And so it's been about 14, 15 years.
Yeah, I wonder what the deal is with the drums that, they require a year or two of another instrument. I know where I grew up, it was usually anybody that became a drummer had to have taken some piano lessons.
Yeah, I have seen that in different spots as well. I think it is a very complex instrument, and instructors want to make sure you're familiar with music theory and tempo and timing and staying in a good rhythm.
Yeah, but that also brings up a joke that a drummer friend of mine told me one time. He says, how can you tell if a drummer's at the door? So I don't know. He says, comes in late. So I've always enjoyed a musical joke along that line. So you started at that age, and now I'm not going to ask your age or anything because I'm going to be a gentleman. But it's always fun to see how people progress. Well, you were in Lawrence, Kansas, correct? That's where you grew up?
Yes.
And moved here in 2022?
Yes. And
were we still COVID at that time?
I believe it was transitioning out of it for the most part.
Okay.
But yeah, I came to Sioux Falls about mid-August of 2022.
All right. And for what purpose?
I just wanted a change. After growing up in Lawrence, I liked it, but at the same time, I have some family in Sioux Falls here, so I grew up visiting the town, and I've seen it in all different seasons, and just have always loved it. And
so it wasn't to get out the big atlas and throw a dart.
No.
Okay, so you had a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, I did, and and having family here definitely made that transition a lot smoother. And I also knew I wanted to pursue a career within finance and banking, and Sioux Falls is a big banking community.
That it is.
So I thought this would be a good opportunity to pursue that.
All right. And you've been doing that then?
Yes. Right now I currently work at a bank, and I've been in banking as a whole for about 4 years now.
Okay.
And it's gone really well. I love the industry and working with numbers and learning about different parts of finance.
Oh, excellent. So do you count on your fingers yet?
Yes.
'Cause I was going to say, because when I see you, it's all about your fingers, playing the guitar and so forth. Yeah. All right. I always ask this one of any guitarist. How many guitars do you own?
Oh, that's a good question. I always jokingly say not enough, but because you can always use more guitars, right? I believe I have, let's see, a couple of Telecasters, a couple of SGs, some acoustic guitars, and then a Stratocaster.
Oh,
so
wow.
7 guitars and then a bass guitar.
Wow.
Like 7 or 8, depending on how you classify it.
And one of them is double-necked, isn't it?
I do have an Epiphone G1275 double neck. It's a 2021.
Way to list off a part like you're working at an auto store.
Yeah, it's similar to the one Jimmy Page played, Stairway to Heaven and Tangerine on for Led Zeppelin.
So, see, a lot of us would look at you and say, okay, young, probably doesn't even know about Led Zeppelin. I have the feeling you said that since your dad played guitar, that maybe you grew up on some of that?
Yeah, he listened to a lot of like some classic rock, some surf music, but I did listen to like Rainbow was a big one, Ritchie Blackmore. We both were influenced by guitarist Jeff Beck.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Beck.
some Led Zeppelin. And then I also have kind of ventured out and listened to a lot of Guns N' Roses, and Slash is a big influence. But we also do have similar tastes in music too, and then introduce new songs and artists to each other. Yeah,
there was an article I read in Rolling Stone years ago about Jeff Beck, that he was complaining that the music wasn't loud enough.
Oh, yeah.
But it was already very, very loud, so they just turned up his monitor. And he was, thumbs up. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, says every musician, it could always be louder.
Probably,
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you got to bring out all the nuances.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
What's your favorite part of playing a guitar?
I think just the constant journey of learning new scales, new different parts of songs, and taking inspiration from other musicians. And I like that it's never ending. A quote like that a guitarist Les Paul had said is something similar to like, once you think you've mastered the guitar, a bunch of other things open up and you realize just how much there is that's unknown. And that's what I like, is the continuous learning.
Okay. Do you write your own music at all?
I haven't written any full songs.
Okay.
However, I have written a few like riffs or kind of built out. I would start off with a song, a well-known song, and then make it my own kind of from there. But I'm trying to gain more experience in that a little bit within songwriting.
All right, so you play with the band Etta and the Vendetta, and love her. What a great human being.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, what was it? Sunshine and laughs at her birthday party. That's what she said. Sunshine and laughs all this time. And she's just such a fun person to be around. So I'm guessing that rehearsals even for you guys are pretty fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. We just had a rehearsal a couple days ago. We're preparing for some upcoming shows, and it's great. In the rehearsals, we are very open to ideas and bouncing off ideas from one another, and then also very patient. If one of us needs help figuring out a song a little more, we're all willing to jump in and help and ask about what can we do to like improve the song, make it our own, so we're not copying and pasting, so to say. But it's a very collaborative environment.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about this entire community when it comes to the arts. Yeah. Very collaborative. Not a lot of competition. Got to hit you in the nose because I want this more. But very collaborative. Anybody will help anybody. That's what I've noticed. Yeah, moving to Sioux Falls, it's a lot different than Lawrence in some ways, that it is there's that music collaboration from different bands. Right. Like no one's trying to steal the show from one another. Exactly. Bands are collaborating all the time. And even bands we have played with, they have come to shows where it's just us playing, or I have gone to shows where it's just them playing. There's not like an opening act or anything, but we just go and support each other. All right. Sioux Falls area. From the time that you came here in 2022, and then was it just a year ago or 2 years ago, maybe, for Etta and the Vendetta to start up? I joined in October of 2024.
4. I have been in the band for right around 6 months or so.
Uh-huh. All right. So in that spread time of first getting here and then getting on with it, Etta and the Vendetta, what did you do? Were you playing anywhere? And I just didn't notice you?
Before I joined Etta and the Vendetta, I have been playing at a few open mics around Sioux Falls.
Okay.
I started playing at my first open mic at McNally's, was in December of 2023. I had one of my coworkers at one of the places I worked. He had said, we got on the topic of music, and he had said, my friend hosts an open mic. You should go check it out and play there sometime. So I did that, and I was very nervous for my first open mic. But then from there, I just went and looked at the open mics within Sioux Falls and tried to go to 1 or 2 every month. And then I ended up meeting Etta at the open mic in October at the Icon.
Whew.
Yeah.
What a tour.
Yeah, it was fun. It was also the Halloween open mic night, so everyone was dressed up and
right.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right. So you are with Etta, but then you also perform solo. In fact, I've seen you at Dada in the Icon, and that's where I saw you play the double stem, but also. I didn't see this, but snooping in your pictures on Facebook, I see you playing a guitar behind your head.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I saw a video of a guitarist, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, do this at a Guitar Center show years and years ago. I think I was about like 12 or 13 when I first saw this video, and I thought, I need to know how to do that. So I would practice in my room with the guitar behind my head. And I thought it's just a fun little way to jazz up a song during a performance and see if I can still do it. And it helps with muscle memory, too.
Did you ever drop it in a practice?
I have not. No, knock on wood.
Yeah, no kidding. I was going to say, because, they're not cheap.
No, they are not.
Yeah, I think when I was a kid, you could ask your parents to get you one for like $20, 25 maybe.
Yeah.
And now it's like, ooh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite guitar out of that entire group that you have?
That's a good question. Lately, I guess the one I've been playing the most is a 1979 Gibson SG. It's a Firebrand one, so it has an all walnut body and an ebony, or a walnut body and neck, and then an ebony fretboard, and it just sounds like amazing, I guess. And it's all original. I can dial it in to get like that rock style from like a Les Paul, or dial it back to get like more of a bluesy tone, and it's very versatile, which is one of the things I like most about it.
Yeah. So is there a genre you don't play?
A genre I don't play, I guess I don't play a lot of like classical music. That is a genre that would be good to learn for sure. And I'm working on like learning a song or two just to get into that habit of studying the music theory, and because it can teach a musician a lot, but it's not one I've grown up pursuing. Right.
Well, here's a tune that will maybe help you in that transition for that. Classical Gas.
Okay. Yeah.
Listen to that. I bet you can do it.
Okay.
All right. So when you were growing up, and was Dad, kind of like thumbs on this since you were going into playing guitar, or did he let you have the freedom to learn at your own speed and so forth?
It was like freedom to learn at my own speed, and we would we jammed together at the house like growing up, which was fun. And then he would teach me different songs and scales, and then teach me why, or some music theory things as well, such as how chords are built, how scales, how different scales can be used within different songs.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, that's the thing that always gets me is the different keys.
Yes.
Because, I was a horn player in high school. and pretty good, but I never paid attention to actually what key it was in. I just played the notes, and then all these people that I'm around now are talking about, oh, hey, let's try that in the key of G. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that I don't actually, play anything anymore, because I would have no idea how to transpose that. And so quickly too. And is that the way that you are? Can you do that, with on the fly? Somebody will say, something that maybe you're into, like an F major or something. Is that an actual chord?
F major, yes.
F major is okay.
Yeah.
And now they say we want to play it in a D minor.
It would take a couple minutes for me to piece together, but that is something I'm working on as well, especially after starting playing with Etta. We sometimes transpose songs because of vocals or bass or guitar or keyboards, depending on how we want it to sound. And then there's also another artist, Guns N' Roses. They tune a lot of their songs down a half step, and so instead of tuning my guitar down, sometimes to add a challenge, I'll play it in a different key or try to transpose it, or just to add that little challenge.
Yeah. And you also have to worry about, if Victor Faine's ever going to go off on something on the piano too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What a great keyboardist.
Oh, he's amazing.
Oh,
yeah. It's been great playing with him and Etta. And then sometimes I join him at the house band at the Icons.
Oh,
it's been a lot of fun.
Well, I will have to check that out sometime then.
Yeah.
Anywhere else you're playing besides with Etta and some solo things at the Icon?
I do have a couple shows scheduled at the Minnehaha Country Club this summer. I also work there part-time, and then I also did reach out and just say, oh, I do play guitar. They have music there Fridays and Saturdays. And so I am on, I think, in July and August this summer. So it's been a lot of fun to play there.
And they understand then that while you're playing, you're not supposed to get up and help them out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's been great. And a lot of my coworkers there like it too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And what are you hoping this becomes with your guitar career?
I think I hope that I can just become the best guitarist that I can be, continually learning and growing, as well as meeting other musicians and bouncing ideas off of each other from there with the band. So I think that'd be my big goal, and then just to expand that music horizon some more.
Yeah, like Go Cubs Go on my phone. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Do you have, or have you played, or even attempted a 12-string?
Yes, I love playing a 12-string. I have on that double neck guitar, the top neck is a 12-string, and then I didn't see that. I do have a 12-string acoustic as well, and it's one of my favorite sounds, just to get that extra chorusy sound. And
my two favorite instruments, and if I could ever get somebody to play them together, would just be awesome, is a grand piano and a 12-string acoustic guitar. That combo has such a beautiful mellow to it. Yeah, wow. Yeah. So you've talked about some of the influences and so forth as a different guitarist that you grew up admiring. What about other artists in especially like modern right now? Who do you listen to and really get a good vibe from?
As far as modern music, I don't listen to a ton of modern guitarists. I do listen to a little bit of Tedeschi Trucks. I have gotten into that band a little bit. Just started to. Derek Trucks and his wife Susan Tedeschi. They have a band, and they're fun to listen to, I guess, and they're still touring. I guess that would be the closest to modern. A lot of the influences I do have are from like the 70s and 80s, like Slash or Jimmy Page, or the artists along that front.
What do you think is the soul of music?
I think the the creativity and the influence that can be drawn from an experience that someone has in life and translating that to music, like putting that emotion into it, or even the emotion that music invokes among the audience or whoever is listening.
Yeah, I know that I equate music to time. I can remember when I first heard that song, and just like My Sharona from the Knack. I remember that. I remember Michael McDonald with the Doobie Brothers, and Minute by Minute, I was driving in an April day that was nice and had the windows down in the car. Things along that line. So it's always interesting how I think that it evokes memory so well.
Yes.
And, they do have, not a ton of studies and nothing definitive, but there's a lot that will go out and say that, people that maybe have Alzheimer's and so forth, or are in, latter stages of life, and what the music can mean to them. And that's just so meaningful. So I hope I hear something at the end of my life,
Yeah.
Maybe a grand piano and a 12-string guitar.
There you go. Yeah, contact Victor for the grand piano.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So you are a first-time guest here, so that means you get to answer the first-timers' questions.
Okay.
All right. So depending upon your answer to question number 1 determines whether the second one gets asked. And that is, when you are not part of the arts and entertainment scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
I like to run on the Sioux Falls bike trails. I like to train for different road races. And then I also like to go hiking or biking, anything outside. I also, it's a little nerdy, but I do like to read about the stock market and different business earnings reports and just make investing decisions from there. So I do spend a lot of time doing that as well.
Any insider information?
No, I wish, no.
Any other hobbies then?
Those would probably be my main ones. Yeah, I just love being outside. That's probably my biggest hobby, running, biking, or anything like that.
All right.
Hiking.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Kiran Cordes, thank you so much.
Yes.
Great to know you a little bit more, and great to have you talk about the incredible music that you provide with whenever you're in a band or playing solo. Really, really appreciate that you give that gift of talent to this area. All right. And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment. Serendipity Studio has a call for art. True Colors, a celebration of the diverse colors of our lives, is an exhibit that will open June 7th. Now, the deadline for the call for art is June 4th, so if you want to be a part of that, make sure you contact Serendipity. Meanwhile, Endless Imagination, the rotational gallery exhibit the rest of May at Serendipity Studio, Galleries and Gifts. Additionally, you'll find various vendors every Saturday, 10 to 4, at the Atrium Makers Market. Find it all in the historic Shriver Square building, Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, downtown Sioux Falls.
Are you an artist? Need some funding to further your art? There's a great opportunity for you through a Sioux Falls Arts Council program. The Artist Microgrant program gives away several microgrants to local artists, no matter what art discipline you're in. Unlike more traditional grants, a microgrant is very easy to apply for. Go to artssiouxfalls.org. If you haven't done so yet, create a listing on the Artist Directory, which is beneficial in its own way. Then go to the Artist Microgrants page and apply online. The process is simple. Find out more about the Sioux Falls Arts Council as well online at artssiouxfalls.org.
He's a bit flirtatious, but most of all, fun. Once again, here's Dave Holly.
Welcome back, everyone. It is such a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire, arts and entertainment. I do say it every conversation that we start, and it's especially great to have repeat customers. Hey, welcome back to the Dipsy Doodle Productions studio, Ruthie Pottratz.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How about yourself?
If I were any better, I'd be twins. Yeah, I'd get twice as much done, but be in twice as much trouble, of course.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. And hey, you guys at the Old Town Dinner Theater right now are just, well, you always put on great shows regardless.
Thank you.
But it's also fun when something is kind of loosely based off of something loosely based off of. And that is the case with Play On.
Yes.
And tell us about this play.
Well, it's a kind of has a show within a show, but the show premise is these bunch of actors are in community theater rehearsing a show, but our playwright is a local lady who's written a play, and she keeps changing the plot. So like one of the characters even mentions, he's like, I don't know if I'm the villain or not. Am I supposed to be evil in the background, or am I just supposed to be charming? And there's lots of hijinks that ensue because none of us can remember who's doing what. A prop keeps getting renamed, and so we keep being like, it's this. No, wait, no, it's this. Yeah, it's that. And by the time you get to the third act, it is the quote unquote performance of this show within a show. And none of us can remember what's going on. And there's a whole bunch of hijinks of like goofy things happening backstage there's so many elements of it when we're rehearsing that we're saying the same dialogue pretty much that's in the script, because it's people rehearsing a show. What are we doing at rehearsals? We're rehearsing a show. And it's been a lot of fun, and it's definitely kind of a love letter written to community theater actors as well.
Oh, that's a sweet way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, I know a little bit about the show, but was just curious as to how you were going to describe it for us. So I didn't misdescribe it.
No.
But Old Town Dinner Theater, and so you are actually getting up to the last couple of weekends.
Yes. As of right now, we have 2 weekends left. That last one still has that dessert matinee. But I think we do have a couple tickets left, and we also have a few volunteer spots. So if you want to see it for free,
there you go.
Just a little bit of manual labor. That's always an option for you as well.
Very true. And I tell you what, you know, there's you see a lot of people volunteering often.
Yes.
Because you get the meal too, right?
Yeah, you get a free meal. You get all 3 courses, and you get to see the show for free. Yeah,
it's a great deal, and free shows anytime down there are pleasure to take in. Absolutely. But it's even more so just a pleasure to see what's going on stage. And I like that you referred to it as, you know, a bit of a love letter to community theater actors.
Yeah.
It's such a great way to describe that. And it's so funny because you have so many different types of actors within community theater. Yes. I look at Old Town and I go, I always know it's going to be a fun show. Quite often a possibility that it's going to be a farce. If it's directed by John J. Bowe, the blocking is going to be outstanding.
Yes.
The timing is just going to be phenomenal. And so you get to see such a piece of work. And then, then you've got the premiere. And sometimes it's a little more heavy hitting. Sometimes it's a little more forward. And so you've got those people that, are there. They don't have as long a run as you guys do.
Correct.
See, that's the thing that, and of course, I can keep going with Corson and with Monstrous and the Good Night and everybody else. But the thing that I do love about Old Town is the fact I can somehow fit it into my schedule since you do five weekends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For on stage as an actor, and this is something I've talked about, specifically Aaron Sharp and I will talk about it, how the 5 weekends kind of gives you the chance to kind of settle into the role. I always feel like opening weekend, you're just running on pure adrenaline because you've just finished Hell Week and it's opening night and you have an audience. So there's it's a nervous energy, and that's not always bad, but you just feel like it's almost frantic. Like once the weekend's done, you're like, it feels like you barely remember it. And the second weekend, if you have a second weekend, lots of shows don't even get a second weekend. You've gotten a little bit more comfortable with it. And like I was saying earlier, this third weekend, I feel like we've kind of hit that stride. We're comfortable with our roles. There's things, like I say, happy accidents that might happen on set where we're like, that's good. That was funny. Let's do it again. Like you have a comfort with your role as well as a comfort with each other. Like you can tell if someone's, maybe missing a cue or something, or you're comfortable enough with the show, like you could cover a flop or if a prop wasn't put right or if someone came in a little too late or something like that. So I really like the 5 weekends allowing you to get that comfort with the role, with the show, with your castmates, with the stage. I really enjoy it.
What's been the most difficult part of getting ready for this particular play?
This one, just because of the amount of people on set, it's a lot of moving pieces. Again, where I say the show kind of echoed rehearsals, where when we were just off book and we didn't quite have the rhythm down, we would literally be saying, whose line is it? And then the line in the script would be something like, who has the next line? And so that happened more than once. We burst into laughter every single time. So that's been the hardest. Sometimes I wouldn't say the hardest, but just there's so many moving pieces because there's costume gags, prop gags, sounds backstage, sounds from the sound booth that we'll do. And so it's just been a lot of moving pieces put together again, which is kind of like the extra runs, extra weekends to run the show it allows that comfort and that pattern to get in there.
All right. So you say there's been some happy mistakes and now you're going to go with them.
Yeah.
Does this show allow you for a little improv throughout? A
little bit, to an extent, just like any community theater, but there's definitely, that kind of, and like John, the director, kind of let us play with some things where we'd be like, what if it was fun? I think it'd be funnier if I said this instead of that, or just did this action instead of this action. And so that's been very nice and very kind of freeing and just fun as an actor to be able to kind of play with it, experiment with it. And we kind of made it our own, like, not that we've completely changed the show from what's in the script, but just our version and what we've done is definitely our own version. It's something, our child that we've made all together.
What attracted you to the role that you play?
For me, when I auditioned, there wasn't a specific role that I was going for. There's one or two that I was kind of like, oh, it'd be fun to play this, but I kind of just auditioned because the whole element of, I got to read the script before auditions, like the whole just storyline of it was just so funny. And this is one of the scripts that when I was reading it, I could see it in my head. I could see the gags that were supposed to be happening. I could hear the lines in my head. And I was like, and I also knew a whole bunch of people who were auditioning. A lot of people I've worked with before, a lot of people who are my friends. And I was like, I just want to be a part of this. And so the role that I'm doing is Polly, and she's, I should have everyone know, she wears a fat suit in the show, and there's a lot of fat jokes. It is a suit, and they are fake padding that I have on me, and I'm fine with the fat jokes. But like her character, because I talked about the screenwriter keeps changing the script, her character is very much trying to like change it. So like maybe if my character had more lines, or like my character is more important, so she tries to convince the screenwriter to give her more lines and give her more importance because she keeps inviting her over for dinner. So that's what my character does. And it's been fun wearing a kind of a fat suit. I've never had to wear something like that before, but it's kind of fun. We do get a lot of people that are concerned that I'm being actually made fun of. It's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, it's part of the play.
It's part of the
show. Tell us about some of your castmates.
Castmates. Well, what's fun about this one is we have not one but two couples on stage.
I saw
Aaron and Emily Sharp. He plays the director. She plays the screenwriter Phyllis. So they actually fight a lot as their characters, but obviously they're lovely backstage.
That they are.
And then Autumn and Logan Levitt are also a couple, and they don't necessarily play a couple on the set, but Autumn's character has a big crush on Logan's character, so that's fun for them to play with. We got Tyler Johnson, Josh Allen.
Tyler F. Johnson, yes.
Tyler F. Johnson, Josh Allen. I'm madly going through the cast list. Devin Bassart, Ben Ashwood, and Hillary Croucher as well. It's like I said, it's a big cast.
Yeah, big cast and all-star cast.
Yeah, we're locked and loaded. But everyone's just been so fun to, again, that kind of acting, playing with, where I'm like, I'm going to try this thing. And the show within a show, we have British accents. So some of us are also playing with goofy accents as well. So it's just been
accents are fun regardless, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But as far as my castmates, though, Logan and Josh are the troublemakers behind set. I'm calling them out right now.
Okay.
They're the goofy boys.
So rehearsals obviously went well to get you to this point now. I do want to bring up one thing. Our mutual friend and your castmate, Aaron Sharp wrote a little bit in Facebook about one night seemed to be just kind of a little lackadaisical in the laughter. And I think that he made a great point about it, and, how it picks you guys up, too.
Yes.
If we're not laughing, then you're kind of wondering.
Yeah.
So I can guarantee you that on Saturday the 31st, there will be at least one very large laughter voice in there.
Perfect. That's all it takes.
Yeah. And I think overall, most people from every show that I've been at Old Town is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I felt bad that you guys had one of those nights. It's just kind of like, too bad.
Well, and and we even talked about it too. Like the audience enjoyed it. They were just quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the thing, they kind of chuckled to themselves.
Right.
Like, it just wasn't, necessarily uproarious laughter. I mean, by the time we get to the third act, it's so crazy and chaotic and funny. We'll almost always get laughed at that third act, but there's little bits that lead up to it where it just felt just a little, just quiet. Like I said, we're pretty sure they enjoyed the show, and they did. Yeah. And it's a Thursday night audience, which sometimes is always a bit more subdued because a lot of people work and or school the next day. So maybe they're not imbibing as much, or they're concerned about getting home on time for bedtime. So that always happens as well. But they enjoyed the show. And to be honest, then the show we had afterwards that Friday, we sort of like amped each other up. Like, let's, even if they're quiet, we're going to make them laugh. And there was a fantastic audience. One of our best shows that we'd had, best performances.
No, that's always great. Because, one of the things that if you're going to be in a comedy, that you have to take into account during rehearsal is, okay, what's the reaction going to be when we get live? Am I going to need to pause a little bit longer? Mm-hmm. Do we have to wait for the laughter? And so that's always a little bit tricky in that regard.
Yes, and this show specifically, there's times when, and like a part of it happens with rehearsals. You're saying the same joke, so many times a week. You forget it's funny, and then you suddenly say it opening night, and it gets into laughter. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right, that is a joke. And there's something that I noticed too when there's so many people on stage like this show is that even if you're saying something innocuous to someone else, there could be some gag behind you that you've never really known that another actor's doing that is funny. And so, like, even if you're like, this line isn't funny, but they're not laughing at you, they're laughing just the whole chaos that's on stage. So figuring out where those pauses are, kind of figuring out also what your castmates are doing. Like, what do you guys do? What are you making them laugh over there? And so that's been a lot of fun as well.
All right. So in between the shows then, how many pickup rehearsals have we been having?
We haven't done any pickup rehearsals. The only one we did on our own was because this did take place over Easter. We kind of just had a group text where we did meet at it was Aaron Sharp's house, where we just kind of sat and did a line through. I think we ordered some pizza and just sat and talked. And then when we were done with the line through, we just played some board games. So yeah, there hasn't been too much of a pickup. And to be honest, from Sunday night to Thursday, it's not too many days in between. What we have been doing is that Thursday night, while we're just getting ready, putting on makeup and stuff in the green room, we'll do the first 3 pages is what we'll say. And we all just kind of speed through our lines just to get that, like, oh, yep, now I remember, kind of autopilot takes over a little bit, muscle memory.
Yeah, and get the pace down and everything else. You keep mentioning 3 acts. Do we have 2 intermissions?
Only one. We split up the middle of Act 2, as written in the script. We put our intermission, just the one intermission, that dessert that you get. And we kind of made up our own intermission spot. It took there's about 3 different spots, and we kept trying different ones to see which one felt like the most natural without, because there's one part we thought about putting it, and then we realized, no, there's a line before then that builds up what happens, that if we have the intermission, the audience might not remember that build up. So but
what number show is this for you at Old Town?
Oh goodness. I'm going to have to madly count. Hold on. 6 or 7.
That's fantastic.
I want to say 6, possibly 7. 7 if you count the fact that I've stage managed one of them. So I wasn't on stage, but I was there.
Still part of the production.
And then, of course, we have the camps I've done for 3 years now, which we have another one coming up this June. It's exciting.
We'll talk about that here in just a
of course.
bit. So what's been your most memorable role to date?
I would say it's going to be Everyone Loves Opal. I played Gloria. And she was a character that I really kind of resonated with a lot. She is someone who felt, that she wasn't taken seriously, that she's actually very smart. But she doesn't think she's smart, but she thinks about things and she notices people. And that show is great because it's all about just an old woman worming her way into these criminal hearts, because we're con men. And I'm one of the first ones to turn to be like, maybe we should be nice to this old lady. And there was a lot of kind of character development that she had. I actually remember a specific rehearsal where we're off book and I said a line, and as I said it, it like caught me. I got it caught in my throat a little bit, almost cried a little bit, because in that moment of delivering it, I got it, what she was saying. And I was like, oh, that's deep. But that show as well was also one of my favorite shows, because it was just a wonderful cast. I had Tyler F. Johnson again, Mike Richards, Aaron Sharp again, Jamie Hetwer, and Tommy Bakken were in it. And it was just it was a slightly small cast, but we all got along great. And that I just felt like I really bonded with those people. And that was just, overall, that was just a great show.
All right. So you grew up in a theater family, basically.
I did, yes.
So you've been around it a long time. Is that part of what draws you to help with the camps?
Yes, but also when I was growing up in the high school I was at, I've always been a dancer. And the man that we had come, he's unfortunately passed away now. He actually just passed away about 2 years ago from cancer. But he would come choreograph stuff, and he saw something in me where he's like, you have the big picture in your head. Like, you can see things, and you have that problem solving. And he's like, you should really look into choreography. Like, keep doing theater, keep performing, but you should look into choreography. And so I'd apply to different places. But I started with, when it was Sioux Empire Community Theater, I helped with, they did a production of Annie, and I helped with the kids, and just as a kind of like a dance, because our choreographer couldn't be at every rehearsal, but she knew me. And she's like, you're going to be my dance captain. So when I'm not here, you help out with the dances, especially the kids. And from there, at the time, Patrick Pope was one of the leaders there. And he's like, hey, we have a kids camp, and you're doing really well with these kids for the orphans at Annie. Would you be interested in choreographing that? And I was like, absolutely. And that is where the whole thing started, where I've done kind of main stage choreography, and I do really like it, but I felt like I really hit my stride with kids. And I just basically, I think there's only been a couple of years where I haven't taught a kids camp at least once during the summer. One of them was when I had a newborn. Although I have pictures of my babies with me at camp, and I did one camp fully pregnant, which I shouldn't have done, but I did. But no, it's just something I really love. And especially these last couple of years at Old Town, it's been really special because my daughter has been in the camp.
I was going to say, we've got one there.
That's fun to see. She's not as outgoing as me. And she's really, really good at rehearsals because she's always super excited to do the dances. And then she gets super nervous for the performance. However, she still goes on stage. The very, very first time she said, Mommy, I'm really nervous to go on stage. And I was like, it's okay to do it nervous, as long as you just do it. And she was like, okay. And she did it. And she hit all of her marks. She had a little nervousness on her face that I could tell, but she does it every year and she's enjoying it, and we'll see where it goes. I'm not going to push her too hard if she really doesn't want to, but so far she's enjoying it. And
excellent.
Her first year, she didn't want a line, and she didn't have one. Although we ended up giving her 2 words. It was tuna melt. It was the Little Mermaid, and we needed a chef. The chef had to say tuna melt, and so she did it. And she was really nervous about it, but she did it. And then the next year, she had 3 whole lines. So she did them, and she's growing with it. And I think she's getting more comfortable with the idea of it.
What do we have coming up this year for the camp then? We
are doing Wizard of Oz Jr., which is just like, the movie with Judy Garland, just the kids kind of junior version. It's a little relevant just because of the Wicked movie coming out. So I always feel like that's good. That helps the kids kind of, wrap their heads around it too. But yeah, this pretty much the standard story, and my mom is music directing. She's already been working on it, sending me some music and things. I've been starting to think about the dances as well. And yeah, so once I'm trying to wait for Play On to end before I really think about it, because I got some stuff going on. But yeah, it'll be fun. And yeah, can't wait.
Yeah. Anything thought of past this summer then?
Not
that you're looking
really.
Forward to, or?
mean, after these, I'm looking forward to some free time.
Yeah.
I am helping this year. We are doing the shadow cast again for the Rocky Horror Picture Show for Pride Month.
Oh, that's
at the
right.
State Theater.
Yes.
And I've done that for the last couple times in a row. And so I was asked to help out again this year. And so just about to get rehearsal started on that. I think we got some cast lists to nail down, but that's always fun. And that's always just such a fun time. I could do that in my sleep and just be happy about it because it's always a fun group of people. And the audience is just the most fun audience I've ever performed in front of because they're there to be entertained, but in like they want you to be goofy. They want you to be a little campy. And so, yeah, it's always a lot of fun. But yeah, that's all happening in June. So then when July happens, my plan is to take some naps.
There you go. That sounds like a great thing.
Yes.
Because it does get exhausting. People don't realize that, especially if the word community theater, those two words are in there. They go, oh, you're in community theater. Oh, thank you for doing that. That's nice that you volunteer. They don't realize that you're still, humping the world to get the word out and done and finished and everything else, just like a professional would be anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry that people think that way.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I always like to try to promote is the fact that, hey, first of all, the talent we have in this community is absolutely phenomenal. And it's endless. That's what I'm finding now that, 5 years into this show and having lived here for about 25 years now and seeing how the arts overall have progressed over the past 20, it's just a beautiful thing to witness. And it's so great in that regard. What are you, Ruthie Pottratz, hoping to get out of all this yet?
Out of this summer or
out of you being a dancer, an actor, a director?
Just life experience as well as I always feel like every show I learn something, whether it's the show itself, like, I'd never heard of Play On before. And like, I've obviously heard like Noises Off and those kind of big ones, but like I never knew that there was more similar shows like that where, kind of madness show within a show on stage. So I always like I love auditioning for a show that I know nothing about because I always feel like if you go in with expectations of,
then you might come away disappointed.
Right. You might come away disappointed or, if I've seen like a movie version of a show and I'm like, ooh, I really, really want this role because I love how this actress, how she did it. And I want to do the exact same thing. Whereas knowing nothing about a show, I always feel like you're just, nothing. So you can put your own interpretation on it. But just as far as, I continue to do theater because first of all, I love the feeling. I always feel like nothing can beat that moment when the curtain comes up to take a bow and everyone's clapping.
Yeah.
And I love the feeling of camaraderie on stage. I always feel like that's why I never enjoy competitive sports because even if you're on a team, you're still against another team. And I've never liked that feeling of winner loser. Whereas theater, I truly feel like it's that collaborative team, how we're all in
everybody's
together. But we all want a good show. So it's not always, so like if it's something as simple as, hey, during this scene change, someone needs to move this chair. It's not anything about hierarchy or diva or not. It's just who's available to move this chair. We need to move this chair. And you do it because that's what makes your show great. Because everyone wants a good show. We're working together to create a finished project between actors, director, stage manager, people who do the lights, people who do the sounds, people who do the costumes. And in terms of Old Town, the kitchen staff and all of those people as well, it's truly a collaborative. And I think that's why I keep doing shows, especially when I'm meeting new actors to work with that I've never worked with before, reading new shows that I've never read before. It's everything. I like the new experiences and I like
that's awesome.
Learning stuff.
All right. Well, you have been a return guest. You've been on a few times before, actually. So now we have to change up the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Instead of the, what would you do if you weren't involved in entertainment? What's Ruthie Pottratz's one-word mantra or phrase mantra?
I think we did this last time.
Oh, did we?
I think we did. I'm pretty sure my word was commit, which it still is.
Yeah. Okay.
It still is, I think.
Then.
Yeah.
All right, then. What is the next trip you would like to go on?
Oh, this
Traveling.
one's easy because I already have it scheduled. We're gonna go. Me and a couple of friends are gonna go to Disney World in January. Because it's one of my part-time jobs. Is I'm a Disney travel agent, and I've gone with family members. And I actually took my daughter AJ to Disney World for her birthday, and she had a blast. And I was talking to my friends about it. And like we should just all go as adults to have an adult trip because we all enjoy it. So it started off as a larger group, but it kind of got down because of the schedules and stuff. So it's me and the Steinhaus brothers and Megan Holzmer are heading to Disney, and just to go to the parks. We might drink around the world in Epcot. We don't know, but it's just to kind of have fun and enjoy. If it wasn't Disney, I'd really want to go to England and Ireland, and like I'd love to go to London, but I'd love to go to actually like some of the countryside and see some of like the nature that they have out there, especially some of the old castles. I think would be fun to explore.
Yeah, and see why they call it the Emerald Isle.
Exactly.
All right, Ruthie, appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing you on stage for Play On at
Absolutely.
Old Town Dinner Theater. Go to otdt.org to see if you can get tickets, and we'll see you in the arts. And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment. One of my favorite musicians will be on stage tonight at Trio, showtime 6:30 for Bonafide Jazz with Ken Hoyne. He leads the band with some classic tunes from the great American songbook. The Dalton Peterson Trio plays 2 shows Friday night, 6:30 and 9, and they do it again Saturday night, 6:30 and 9. They also have special comedy nights coming up at Trio, Sunday and Tuesday. Sunday, it's the Speakeasy Comedy Night with headliner Matt Onwart, fresh off his Kill Tony debut. Showtimes 7:30 and 9. Comedy night featuring absurdist comedian Casey Crawford is coming up then on Tuesday. He made his late night comedy debut on Jimmy Kimmel Live in 2017, and it's just one show only for him at 7. Then local singer-songwriter Dan Mahar plays Wednesday night, the 28th, at 6:30. For showtimes and tickets, as well as more information about upcoming shows, go online at triojazzclub.com.
It's the podcast that creatives in the Sioux Empire listen to so they can learn more about other creatives. It's the Dave Holly Hour.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, we have an extended edition today, this week, this episode, which happens to be number 277 of the Dave Holly Hour, because I've been wanting to get Jim Spiers back on to talk about many things. Always great just to catch up with him, to talk about the music that he plays with his trumpet and the different things he's involved with. We've got another new thing that he's in now, and we're going to get to that. We'll get to all of that. But this is actually very important this time around, Jim. It's not just to profile you, to talk about the things you're involved in. This is that, I always start off usually a conversation with, it's always a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment. This is more of a what's going to happen type situation, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we've got all the things coming down from the federal government, the things that could be as well. What are you most worried about?
Well, first of all, good to see you again. Thanks for having me over.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. What am I worried most about? That's a great question. I mean, there's been so many things that I think have stressed the arts sector over the last several months. I think what I'm most concerned about is just the general inconsistency or unprecedented actions that have been taken by the current administration, things that we have not had to deal with before, that have been surprises, sort of out of the normal process, which really makes advocacy difficult because it's hard to know what the message is. It's hard to know how to activate our advocates when things are changing so quickly and so unexpectedly in DC.
So with your position at Arts South Dakota, what is it you are trying to get other people to follow, be involved in, and so forth?
Yeah, so let's maybe back up a bit and just, we've talked Arts South Dakota on your show before, but Arts South Dakota is our state arts service organization. We serve the sector through three primary ways. We do what we call Connect, but it's basically public awareness, sort of large-scale messaging, celebrating the arts in South Dakota, making sure South Dakotans and our visitors know the impact and the value and really the breadth and the creative talent that we have here in our state. Another one of our areas of service is what we call Educate, but it's encompasses a lot of things around professional development. We do arts conferences. We have an Arts Leadership Institute. We work closely with our state's community arts councils. We have a couple programs in the summer for arts educators. So that's our Educate service. And then last, and what we're talking about today is as advocacy. And, our role is to kind of be a watchdog, be share updates with South Dakotans who care about the arts, who care about creativity, and especially those who want to be advocates, who want to be a voice for the arts, who want to speak out, whether locally or at the state level or federally, in support of the arts and pro-arts policy. So we spend time in D.C., we spend time in Pierre. We work closely with communities across the state to make sure South Dakotans know what's happening in terms of arts policy, in terms of government support, government interaction with the arts sector.
When it comes to the local, what cities or particular areas and so forth are better at advocacy than others? Is there anything that sticks out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I find that generally, without picking, I don't want to play favorites here, but, I find that a lot of our smaller communities in South Dakota, South Dakotans might be surprised to hear that we have over 30 active community arts councils in a small state, population-wise. Of course, geographically, we're very large, but as far as population, we have a lot of small communities that have very active arts councils, local arts councils that are completely volunteer-run. Places like Fulton, Hot Springs is just starting one. Vermilion and Castlewood, Webster, these are communities that we may be surprised to hear have active nonprofit arts organizations that make sure that their communities are experiencing art, that they bring in artists, that they have arts in the schools. Anyway, I find that a lot of those smaller towns maybe have rally the most around a good art scene, because they really care about bringing those things to their small community. They want to make sure people in town have that they don't have to travel to the larger towns. I'm also been very impressed with recent developments in Sioux Falls. We're sitting here in Sioux Falls, and the mayor just hired a art specialist position within city government. So a full-time art specialist that is going to be the liaison within city government to make sure that the arts are represented in all facets of our city in Sioux Falls. So we're seeing really cool developments across the state on the local level. But the small towns, it's really inspiring when these volunteers take time, volunteer their hours, their expertise, their buildings, to make sure that that creativity is happening in their town.
That's fantastic. How are they at fundraising?
That's I think depends. Every community has a different approach, but that kind of goes back to the conversation today,
right? Because that's going to change.
Yeah, a very important player in supporting the arts ecosystem in our state, a rural state, is the South Dakota Arts Council, which in part is funded by the National Endowment for the Arts, which is the agency, the funding in DC that we're worried about right now. So there's a lot of communities in South Dakota that really rely upon that foundational, that initial support from the South Dakota Arts Council or from the NEA. That first, if you will, that first dollar that seeds the idea, that gets the community together, that rallies people around a project and helps them then fundraise and support that project on a local level. Oftentimes, it is the State Arts Council and the NEA that really gets that process off the ground. So when we talk about access to the arts in South Dakota, or really any rural part of our country, the National Endowment for the Arts is a big, big deal. In fact, you might be surprised to find out that the endowment, they fund arts projects in over nearly 700 counties in our United States that would not have funding from any other source. So they fund projects in far more counties, but 700 of those do not have, it's maybe a little less, I think it's like 630 or something like that, but hundreds of those counties that the National Endowment for the Arts funds projects in do not have any other funding source, grant source for those projects. So in terms of access in rural parts of our country, and especially here in South Dakota, the National Endowment for the Arts is a big deal.
How tough is grant writing going to become?
Well, the whole sector's changing right now. I mean, writing a grant to the National Endowment for the Arts is a big deal. It's a lot of work. We've done it ourselves at Art South Dakota. It's not a small task. So, it will just depend. I think there will still, knock on wood here, we're hoping that agency does survive and there will still be grant opportunities. But we're also seeing the private grant sector, private foundations come to the aid of some of the funding that's being lost from the federal government. That's great, but it's a temporary fix. It's concerning me a bit because we don't want to be complacent. We don't want to give the illusion that, the federal government will quit funding the arts in our country and private foundations or private citizens will take up that slack. It's impossible. There is a real funding partnership that happens in this country between the federal government and agencies like the NEA and private citizens, philanthropic citizens or private foundations. Those two entities must work together and come together to support the arts ecosystem. And it doesn't happen without either one. So for someone to feel like, okay, great, the federal government will pull that money away, and the Mellon Foundation, just to use them for example, because I just did a big grant to a lot of arts agencies, will come in and fill that gap. And maybe they're going to help here in the short term, but it's impossible to expect that would be a viable solution long term.
Is there a best case scenario and a worst case scenario?
Well, I think best case scenario is we get back to some balance here. I get it. I'm certainly respectful and I understand the need for our federal government to find some fiscal balance and to try to balance the budget. We're in such debt right now. I get that. But I don't think we're going to balance the federal government on the back of their support for the arts in our country. In fact, just as an example, right now, the federal government funds the National Endowment for the Arts at $207 million a year. That was last year, fiscal year 25. That's 0.003 of a percentage point of the total federal government, 0.003%.
Wow.
So when we talk about government efficiency, and trying to drive efficiency and save money and be more responsible with taxpayer dollars, defunding the National Endowment for the Arts is not the answer. Mm-hmm. That's not going to do anything. That's like a rounding error. I used an example of one interview I did recently of that'd be like Art South Dakota deciding not to buy a box of paper clips. I mean, that is not going to fix our federal budget. So I think best case scenario is we find some common sense again and realize that the federal government does have a role in supporting the arts and humanities in our country. In a country like the United States or any developed country, we know we can look across the world that a well-run, a healthy country, even a fiscally sound government has a part to play in funding the arts. The arts are essential to our lives, to strong communities, to well-rounded education. So if we believe in those things in our communities, good education for our students, the opportunity to access arts and entertainment, the ability to live a creative life, to for our students to understand what being creative is and bringing those creative skills to their job, their future job, which is going to count on being creative. That is one of the number one skills employees are looking for right now, is the ability to think creatively, to problem solve, to creatively problem solve within their jobs. If we want that in the future in our country, then we need to count on the federal government to support that. Just like we need to count on the federal government to support safety and healthcare and infrastructure and everything else. So that kind of got a little bit a field of your question, but I think that optimally we would continue to at least support the arts on the level we have been. Of course, as an arts advocate and as an artist myself, I'd like to see the federal government do way more, and look
exactly.
at, spending up to $1 per capita. Right now it's more like 50 cents per capita or less. We'd like to get up to $1 per capita of federal funding supporting the arts. And if you looked at a lot of other developed countries, it's way more than that. It's many dollars per person. So we'd like to see funding increase, but at the very least, let's not cut it. Let's at least stick with what we got now. And we have I think a good functioning ecosystem that has done well with limited support. So the idea of just stripping it down even further makes no sense.
All right. At the state level, then, I know that every year you go up and advocate, first of all, but you also actually have a day at the legislature. How was that this year? What's the feeling you're getting from the state representatives?
Overall, really good. Very positive.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is there's a lot of hot button issues. We've heard about a lot of those at the state level without getting into all of those conversations. We know there's been some very stressful conversations within state government. And one thing we found is that the legislators tend to like it when the arts come to town, because I think it's a positive conversation. We bring something fun to talk about. I often will say, Dave, that we believe that the arts are not a partisan issue. It is not a partisan issue. It's a quality of life issue. It's an education issue. I don't believe that, Republicans want to defund the arts and Democrats want to fund the arts. That's not true at all. I think we find that there's broad support for arts and arts education on both sides of the aisle, and that fundamentally our leaders and especially the citizens of our country and of our state want access to the arts, want to have a healthy arts ecosystem, want to see the arts in their community. So the arts are really not a partisan issue. And we find when we get up to Pierre, I think they really kind of look forward to that day, because we bring some fun things. We bring student musicians, we hang paintings, we do we've done little cookies or chocolates from Chubby Chipmunk that have the Arts South Dakota logo on them. I mean, it's a fun day,
right,
right. And I think it's a little lighter conversation.
Yeah.
So
they're not at fisticuffs.
No, exactly. I think they kind of look forward. Okay, I'm going to come out of my office. The arts people are here. I'd like to go talk to them. So lately that's been good, and we have the primary funder, the main funder of the arts across our entire state. When you look at accessibility and consistency of funding, it comes through the South Dakota Arts Council, which is funded in part by the Department of Tourism, which makes so much sense to have the arts coupled with tourism, to have the arts within the Department of Tourism, because I know that so many people visit our state to experience the arts, especially here. We think about, again, being here in Sioux Falls, we think about Sculpture Walk, and we think about the Pavilion and the Levitt, and we could go on and on of all the things that concerts and gallery openings in downtown, First Fridays, and people are coming to this community for the arts. But I think it's that way across the state, and let's face it, our entire tourism industry is based on a giant sculpture out in the Black Hills. So tourism was founded on people coming to South Dakota to experience the arts.
In fact, in the Black Hills and Rapid City's really been having a great impact of late.
Yeah.
Adding so many different things. And of course, if you've never seen the statues of the presidents, that is just, it's America. And that is what we enjoy being a part of. And of course, we're a little, biased, but I would happen to say South Dakota's best place to live.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're the most creative state in the union per capita by far. We have so many great artists that live here, so many creative people.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why this show will never end, because it's got endless people to have on.
Yeah.
You mentioned, the arts being essential, and you covered that somewhat, but what about when somebody comes up to you, they find out your position, and they go, so why are the arts essential then?
Well, I think it's really important then to have a conversation to meet someone at their level. Where do they experience the arts? It's interesting. You'll find conversations with people that say, I really don't like, I'm not an arts guy, and I don't think they're being critical. I don't think they're saying you shouldn't like the arts or I don't want the arts in our community, but they'll sort of reference it as something they don't understand or they don't associate with. And I think we quickly find that we all have a connection and a creative experience almost in, I shouldn't say almost, I know every day in our lives, daily. So you talk to someone, one of the examples I like to use, and this didn't actually happen, but I kind of think about it hypothetically, but, someone will say, I'm not really an arts guy. I don't really understand ballet, or I don't dig, opera, or, modern art. I just don't understand it. Okay, that's great. What do you like to do? Oh, I'm really more of a football guy. I love going to football games. Okay, well, let's talk about art at football games.
Yeah.
When you go to see the Vikings, you're walking into a magical place that's been designed by architects with huge screens that play, creative content, surrounded by music, people dancing, the cheer teams are dancing. You have bands in there playing. You have the logos, the uniforms, the programs, the whole experience is based around the arts.
Yeah.
Aside from the game, which you could also even say that's kind of a creative outlet. Someone had to come up with that game. That's a creative endeavor. But imagine going to a football game where there's none of that, just a bunch of people running around on a field with, whatever. One person wears a white shirt, another person wears a black or something. The game would not be that fun. People would not want to go if it was just going out to a field in the prairie just to watch that. I think you would be quick to understand that a big draw going to an athletic event is the arts content.
Very much so.
What do you wear in the morning? What do you pick out to put on? That shirt, you love that color. That's an artistic decision. The office you walk into, would you rather walk into an office that's cinder blocks and no windows, and you work at a desk that's on top of a bunch of
not allowed to have any personal items?
Yeah, no pictures, no. Or would you rather walk into an office that has beautiful windows and maybe a nice reception area and the aesthetics, the interior design, the architecture, these are things that you quickly realize, oh yeah, okay, I get it. The arts do impact, creativity does impact my daily life. So you asked, what do we talk about? I try to find that kind of connection, of where do you intersect with the arts? If you say you're not really an arts person or you don't understand the value of the arts, we can pretty quickly find that connection in almost everyone's life.
Yeah, it is a continual. You experience art every moment.
Every moment.
Yeah, and it's fantastic that we have that.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was, but somebody had said, we're going back, philosophers and so forth, about arts are essential in every society.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Well, when you were talking about everything at a football game, I used to work for United Indoor Football many years ago.
Okay.
And our focus was that we wanted you to experience a football game during a rock concert.
Yeah. Sure.
We wanted the atmosphere to be a rock concert.
Well, there you have it.
You're catching a game in the meantime.
That's exactly it. So that proves that's a better way of saying what I just expressed. You want to go to a rock concert and there's a football game as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so that is an artistic experience.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so what do people need to do to get involved, to be advocates along with you and all the other organizations, the volunteers that people or organizations already have?
Yeah. Well, I'll get to that in a second. One thing I do want to express is that right now we are looking at a deep threat to the artistic infrastructure of our country that could be irreparable or take generations to repair. We've already seen the National Endowment for the Humanities, which is a sister agency to the National Endowment for the Arts. We've already seen their budget cut by 83%. They've pretty much been shuttered, pretty much been closed. Our South Dakota Humanities Council right now is operating in sort of an emergency cash reserve, how long can we make it situation until some of these federal grants come back online. And so the programs that they fund, the experiences such as the South Dakota Book Festival is a great example that people around this state are very familiar with and love. That festival is still a go. It's going to happen this year. There's no jeopardy to that. So I don't want to get anybody, I want to promote it as go to that festival this year. But in the long term, that's a concern because the humanities have been cut by 83% federally. So it's basically nothing at this point. The National Endowment for the Arts has not been cut as much, but grants have been terminated. So one of my recent letters to the editor talks about the fact that grants that were promised, that were contracted, that were in place for this year, for projects that were in place for this year, Dave, have been terminated, have been pulled back. South Dakota Symphony Orchestra had money coming from the National Endowment for the Arts for projects and programs that were happening this year. The Cheyenne River Youth Project in the Red Can Graffiti Jam up in Eagle Butte had over $30,000 promised by the federal government for a project that's happening in about 6 weeks. That all of a sudden, that funding is not coming. And that to me is really concerning because money, staff time, resources have already been spent on these projects because these organizations were counting on their agreement, their promise, their contract with the federal government. And so these are unprecedented times. This just doesn't happen, not on a wide scale like this. And so South Dakotans need to be aware of this, that these small nonprofits that operate right up to the line already, that operate with very few resources, are now being told by the federal government, hey, the money that we had promised you for projects you're doing right now, you're not going to get. So go find it elsewhere. Uh-oh. Where do you find it? You know, if you have a program in Eagle Butte, where do you go find that? That's really disappointing. And I think South Dakotans need to realize that, and they need to understand that if it continues this way, the entire arts ecosystem of this country, and especially of South Dakota, because we're a rural state that really counts on some of that support for access, that could all go away. And so this is the time we're telling our constituents, our advocates, get out there, talk to, most importantly right now, Senators Towne, Senator Rounds, and Congressman Johnson. They need to take on a leadership role right now in D.C. and tell the current presidential administration that enough is enough. We got to get back to some norms here. We got to follow a process. We can't be doing this. And they have a leadership role. And I think they need to hear from South Dakotans who believe in the arts and humanities in our state. They need to hear from every one of us to say this isn't acceptable. And so that's what we're encouraging right now. The Trump administration has suggested in its upcoming next year's federal budget that they want to zero out. They want to eliminate the National Endowment for the Arts. They want to eliminate the National Endowment for the Humanities. This has been a threat in the past. His first term that happened. And to their credit, Towne and Rounds, and at the time, Congresswoman Nome, and then Dusty, when he took office, did not agree with the president's budget and said, no, we're not going to defund the arts because Congress has the power of the purse. The Congress appropriates and sets the federal budget. They came back after that recommendation from the president and said, we're going to fund the NEA and the NEH. And so during those first 4 years of the Trump administration, those endowments continued to be funded. So there is precedence and there is hope that that will continue still right now. But what's new is then this idea that even though Congress appropriated and has set aside money for these agencies, now the administration is saying, we don't care, we're going to pull it away anyway. So we need South Dakotans to reach out and remind our senators and representatives that this can't happen, that an 83% cut to the humanities or a complete zeroing of the endowment for the arts budget is not acceptable. And we count on their leadership to make sure that doesn't happen. So the best way to interact with them or to learn about all this, if you're not already following Arts South Dakota, is just to go to our website, Arts South Dakota. That's plural, ARTS South Dakota, spelled out. And you'll find a place to sign up on our email list. And what we do is we promise our constituents that we'll keep them informed of developments, both federally and in peer on the state side as well. And if there is an issue that we would like to see grassroots advocacy and people reach out to their representatives and senators, that will make sure they're aware of it. We don't spam. We don't, we're very careful about how often we ask for, advocacy action. In fact, since the start of Arts South Dakota, I think it's, we've probably issued advocacy alerts where we've really encouraged people to take action probably less than 20 times in 10 years, because it's been a fairly stable environment. So if people want to be active and want to be informed and want to have a voice in this, sign up for our emails and we'll make sure they're aware of when these things happen. But now is the time. Don't even wait to sign up for our email or don't wait for our email. Call Senator Towne right now. I mean, pick up the phone and call his office and say, hey, I want to make sure the arts are funded.
Yeah.
That's what has to happen.
Okay. And that's not the only organization that you are involved with, Arts South Dakota. By the way, just to make sure, artssouthdakota.org?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. .org. Yep.
All right.
Correct.
So there's this group that started a year ago, the Fellowship Jazz Center.
Yeah.
And I remember you and Dan Heyer coming in to talk about it. Here we are a year into it. Now we have a South Dakota Jazz, or we have a Fellowship Jazz Center Orchestra.
Yeah, right.
And you had your first concert just a month ago, and I thought it was fantastic.
Well, you were a big part of that concert.
Oh,
so
well,
you added
I enjoyed
a lot.
being part of it.
Yeah, we loved having you MC. And
well, and I hope that's something that continues, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. That was a fun night. We had a blast.
Yeah, and you had the Mitchell High School Jazz 1, and they were fantastic. And I just got to thinking, just like you have with Arts South Dakota, the mission, part of the mission of Fellowship Jazz Center is education.
Yeah.
And to see that we have those types of young people that know about jazz and that they can certainly play it. And hopefully we're going to see them coming up in other ranks, whether it's, coming over to Jazz Jam on first Wednesday of the month at the Trio Jazz Club. And get involved there. Then maybe we'll, see them down in other things too, because, when they come to the Jazz Jam, then they get a chance to play with you. They get a chance to play with Dan Heyer. They get a chance to play with so many names we recognize locally and statewide when it comes to the jazz scene. And are you surprised at how well it's done, or are you hoping? Did you expect to be further?
Oh, I am really surprised at how far we've gotten in a year. We laid out, I think, a pretty sound vision for a young organization and had some, I think, specific goals in mind. But some of these that we've already been able to check off or to add to the accomplishments or resume, however you want to put it, have come a lot quicker, a lot faster or sooner than I anticipated. And that's really just, I think, a testament to, the board, Dan Heyer's leadership, people like you who have said, we want this in our community, we're going to support it. And I think it also, Dave, proves the interest, the audience, the fact that a lot of folks in this area and in Sioux Falls really like this art form and want an organization that is presenting it, that is championing or celebrating, I guess would be a better word, that it's a testament to the fact that there's a lot of people that love jazz music in this town. So I think that's another reason we were able to move forward so quickly. I think the orchestra is so exciting. I've said that I feel that there's a few items that are essential for a healthy jazz ecosystem. One of those is a club,
Right.
And Trio Jazz Club fills that role. Yeah, and then some. It's just an amazing place, and we're so grateful and fortunate to have it. So you need a jazz club. And then I think jazz education is another one, a place for young people to experience the music, to try it, to feel supported, to feel no pressure, to feel an opportunity to try things and not not be critiqued or not be to be able to experiment, right? And be creative and determine without too much pressure if it's something that they like. And then the third is a jazz band, a big band, an orchestra. I think for years we've been missing that in this town. We used to have a couple way back in the day. I think there was a time we had Touch of Europe, the jazz club in the basement. We had the Sioux Falls.
Amazing bread, too.
Oh, yeah. The bread, the pierogies. Everyone that's been there will remember the pierogies.
Yes, I do.
Or the carrot slaw or whatever that was. There's so many things we should do a show on that.
Exactly.
We had the Sioux Falls Big Band. We had the South Dakota Jazz Orchestra. And then, of course, jazz education. We had the just Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society that had All City Jazz Band and some other programs for students. So I think there was a time when we had a lot of these elements in place. And then, just as things happen, there's a beginning and end, and Touch Europe closed, and the big bands it's a huge labor of love to run a big band. And so some of the folks that ran those previous bands, retired or whatnot. And then the jazz education component never fully went away, but I just think there wasn't, outside of the schools themselves, there wasn't necessarily an organization that really took that on as a part of their mission. And so now we're seeing a lot of that come back to life again. And I think Fellowship Jazz Center has really been kind of the catalyst and kind of the glue there to say, we need these things. Let's figure out how to pull to create these again in our community. So the Jazz Orchestra was when we first started the organization, Dave, that was one of the things we've been talking about since day one. We want to create a big band or start a big band. Our hope is that, and maybe we've shared this before, but our hope is that we'll have a series, a Fellowship Jazz Center Orchestra series that maybe is 3 or 4 concerts. Maybe it will grow beyond that someday. Much like those who follow the South Dakota Symphony Orchestra know they have a concert series, and so that allows them to have certain themed shows, feature different styles of repertoire, have special guests, featured soloists. We'd like to do the same with the orchestra. So, maybe one night, someday we'll have all local compositions by local composers, or, we'll feature Emmanuel Michael is some of your listeners will remember Emmanuel Michael.
Right. And he's got, does he have a full album out or just some singles?
Oh yeah. I think he's been on so many albums now. I can't remember. I mean, he is the guitar man to call in New York City. Everyone we've heard from that has been through Trio recently, that's a New York-based musician, they talk about E-Man or Emmanuel Michael as the guitar everyone wants on their projects. And so, we think about, wouldn't it be fun to have him come back someday and feature him as a star soloist with the Fellowship Jazz Center Orchestra? Yeah. So those are we're going to work towards it. We're being careful and conservative, so we don't have too much overhead, too much money to raise right away. But we're excited about that.
All right, man, I'm excited about it.
The biggest thing, I think, also, I'll just add this, everyone asks about it. So, you're the Fellowship Jazz Center. Where's your center? Well, we don't have a center yet, but someday we will. We'd love to have a room where we can have open place for students to come in and rehearse their groups, to try new things, to come in and jam, to come in and have listening parties is something we've talked about, where maybe we'll just have a record player and, kids I shouldn't say kids, anybody, there's a lot of us can come in and say, oh, wow, I've never heard this artist, kind of introduce each other, share our favorites, share what inspires us. Or movies would be another thing to watch or listen to. So listening parties, just a community, right? A community space for those who are interested in jazz music. So that's also, I think, on the dream list for the Fellowship Jazz Center down the road.
Excellent. All right. So personally, how many times a week are you playing?
Yeah, it really. I think on average, I should really tally this up some year. On average, I'd say it's probably a couple times a week, if you looked at the whole year. Because there'll be weeks where all of a sudden I'll have, it wasn't long ago, I had a week with 5 or 6 shows in a week, And maybe one of those was a 2-hit, maybe it was a Sunday matinee and a Sunday night or something like that. So there are weeks like that, where it's every night, literally, and maybe more than once a day. And then there'll be a week. What's so weird about this business is all of a sudden you'll have 10 days with nothing, So it really does fluctuate. It's very cyclical, December, that holiday season for me is crazy. I'm with the Haig Brothers. And then just all the Christmas parties. And there's people want to go out and hear music in December. So we get a lot of calls. And then, usually for me, oftentimes like January or early February slows down a bit. Now we're getting back into the summer schedule where there's more patio gigs. There's a big band I play with in Okoboji, the jazzed up big band. They start playing every Tuesday. So we'll pick up again to a little bit more regular basis. But it's an interesting question because every week is different. And I'm very blessed to play as much as I do. I think I get to play about as much as any trumpet player in the region. And so I'm thankful for that. But I also, it's the consistency is very interesting,
Put a lot of miles on the vehicle. Though,
exactly. Yep.
You've been a guest many times, and I appreciate every time that you were in, Jim. And so you've answered a lot of those questions that I have at the end. So we need to come up with a new one for you. So here's your question today to round out our interview. If you ever write an autobiography, what's the title of it?
Wow, that's a great question. Oh boy, what's the title? Today, I don't. This would probably change. Okay, this is interesting. It's like when someone asks me, "What's your favorite trumpet player?" Today, yesterday,
I've been listening to lately.
I don't know. I think I would need some publishers' help on this, but it would be something about like, let's see what happens today, or what's today gonna bring. Yeah. I've been thinking about that a lot lately because every day has just been a unique, just a surprise in a way. Of there's never one day never matches the other. And I think that's pretty cool, and whether it's musically, I was in Brookings last week playing with a group that tours and does soul music and swing music. And it was really a cool experience, all new stuff. And then last night I played with, and this is just the musical side of my days, but the last night I played with JS Quintet. We played at Squealer's Barbecue.
In
T. T. And Squealers and Tea for the Platt High School band that was in town to play for the Honor Flight program. And I mean, that's such a unique, I'm playing, we're playing minor swing, the Django Reinhardt tune, and we're at this barbecue place and there's all these kids from Platt listening. And I just think, what a crazy life it is when you're a musician. I mean, you just experience so much. So I think there is a lot of truth to that. What will today bring? I don't know. What's today going to be like, And I think I've been very fortunate not to have a repetitive, I don't know what to expect. Every day is a little different. And sometimes that's stressful, you know?
True.
Sometimes you kind of wish I could get up and just know, okay, my schedule is this. I don't, I'm not going to worry about, but most of the time I'm very thankful to have a surprise, a new experience, make new friends, play new songs, work with, my day job, getting to go around the state and meet with artists is pretty cool. So that's always a new surprise every day. And it's a real privilege.
All right. Jim Spiers, thank you so much. Appreciate your time as always. And we'll be seeing you at the Trio, I'm sure, very soon.
Yeah, I think first Thursday in June, maybe I'm back. So,
right.
Trio Jazz Club. Come, even if I'm not there, stop in. You got it.
5 days a week.
5 days a week. Live music. Yes,
all right.
Exactly. Thanks, Dave.
Jim. Take
so
care.
Good to see you.
And we'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Towne know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XO Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation. 605-332-9235 or exokairos.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XO Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
Support the Dave Holly Hour in a very easy way. Buy Dave a cup of coffee by clicking the cup at davehollyhour.com.
Thanks again to my great guests, Kiran Cordes, Ruthie Pottratz, and Jim Spiers. Thank you for not only the listening, but for your support of the local arts in the Sioux Empire. Now, if you are that first-time listener, probably haven't gone to the website quite yet, but please go to davehollyhour.com. Every one of the now 277 episodes are available anytime. And don't just download them and listen and so forth, but if you have a comment, please, we would love to hear from you as well. I encourage you to find your art. Find the art you enjoy. Find the art you are interested in trying. And we'll see you in the arts. Please remember the servicemen and women of our nation and their families, especially those that have passed, but keep those currently serving in your thoughts and prayers as well. So please stay safe in your travels and celebrations. As the Sioux Falls Arts Council says, together we art. As Arts South Dakota says, home is where the art is. As I say, put some art in your heart. Remember, my name is Dave Holly, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by Trio Jazz Club, Sioux Falls' premier jazz club, Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. Stay up to date on the show by following on Instagram and Facebook. All episodes available anytime at davehollyhour.com. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.